Joe DeSalvo here with the CFF site, bringing you the details on our 2019 3-in-1 Super Fantasy League. I am going to give you the breakdown of the format. I'm going to show you the roster requirements. I'm going to show you the prize breakdown for all the leagues that we have. It is 3-in-1. We've always wanted to do something different for you guys. It's just not a traditional college fantasy football league. This is a 3-in-1 league. It involves cumulative points. It involves tournament formats. It involves building rosters, different rosters every week. I'm going to give it all to you right now. So if you're in this league, you're going to want to pay attention to the details. Follow along this video. And if you're not in the league, give it a listen. This could be something you're interested in next year, but I'm going to go ahead and get started for everyone that played last year. And for those of you that did not, we did a 2018 total points fantasy league. We said total points, cumulative points, same thing. But basically what you're looking at is a format in which every owner, every fantasy owner last year built a different roster every week. And basically it was a running point total. And the guy at the end of the year who had the highest points was the total points league champion for 2018. We're going to do that again in 2019, but we're going to add to it. And this is how we're going to add to it. We're going to add a tournament format onto the total points league. So as you can see, we're looking at the total points league, the cumulative points league standings right now. As we're looking at it going into the season, everyone is at 0. But basically how you're going to track this is you're just going to click on the standings tab every week and see how many fantasy points you have compared to the other 127 teams that are going to be in this league. And so as we transition from the total points league into one of the tournament formats, what you're looking at now is the bracket. For the 3-in-1 Super Fantasy League, what we're calling this is the two halves tournament. Why two halves? Because there is a first half and there is a second half to this tournament. As you can see, the first half of the tournament is going to play out over weeks 1 through 6. The second half tournament is going to play out through from week 7 through weeks 12, and weeks 13 and 14 will be a 2-week championship in which both of the tournament winners will go head-to-head in a 2-week showdown. But let's look at the 3-in-1 Super Fantasy League 2 halves tournament. Let's look at the first half tournament. Basically, this is what we're going to do. We are going to randomize the 128 team field and put you in a bracket. It's going to be several teams in one matchup during the first week of the season, and the highest scorer from that week is going to go ahead and advance in week 2. Now, in the event of a tie, basically what's going to happen is that all ties will advance in this first half tournament. So you won't have to worry about any tiebreakers in this tournament. And basically this tournament is going to play out over the course of 6 weeks through the first half, and then the winner will be waiting and assume a spot in the championship. Over on the right side of the bracket is where we get into the second half of the tournament. That's going to take place from week 7 through weeks 12. And what you're looking at here is just a 64 team tournament. It is going to be seeded 1 through 64. I'm going to get a little bit into the seedings as we go a little bit further down the line, because the buy-in, the optional buy-in, will affect the teams that are seeded 1 through 64 in this bracket. But what you're looking at is the first half of the season, head-to-head, 128 teams randomized in a tournament, played out over the course of 6 weeks. We get a winner. We take the top 64 teams at the end of week 6. We seed them in a tournament played out from week 7 through 12. And the winner of the first half plays the winner of the second half over a 2-week period to determine the 2 halves tournament champion. Now from there, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the 3-in-1 Super League 100 team head-to-head tournament. So what we're looking at now is we're looking at a 100 team tournament. And how are we going to get to 100 teams? This is what we're going to do. We're going to take the first week and the second week of the college fantasy football season. We're going to take the top 100 teams out of 128. that are registered in the tournament, and we're going to go ahead and seed you into the bracket. If you are the top seed, as you can see right there, if you are the top scorer after the first 2 weeks in the total points league, you're going to assume the number one spot in this 100-team head-to-head tournament, which is to your benefit. You're going to have a 2-week bye. If you can see, if your team's 17 through 32, you're going to have a 1-week bye, and all teams ranked 33 to 100 are going to face off in that opening week. This is a tournament that will take place all season long, and as you see, as we get into weeks 5 and 6, you will start playing 2 weeks at a time against your opponent. So at the end of this tournament, we are going to have a winner. There's a 2-week championship in this tournament as well. The winner of this tournament will be deemed the 100-team head-to-head tournament champion. Now keep in mind, guys, all these tournaments are playing out at the same time. So let's figure out how we're going to build our rosters. How are we going to do this week to week? And here's how it's going to play out. As you can see right here, this is how we're going to build our rosters. You look over to the right-hand side of the screen, and first of all, let me explain to you how to get this to this screen. If you look at the top, it says Pick My Players. It's sandwiched there between the commissioner and the standings. You go ahead and click Pick My Players, and it's going to bring you to the Adjust My Roster screen. And as you can see over on the right-hand side, we're going 5 quarterbacks, we're going 5 running backs, 5 wide receivers / tight ends, and 3 flexes. You're going to have to pick a total of 18 players every week. What is unique about this format is that you have to pick different players each and every week. That's right. If you have not played this league before, this is how it works. And if you played last year, it's going to work exactly the same. If you played De'Aaron King, quarterback for Houston, in week 1 and slide him over into one of those quarterback slots, you will no longer be able to use De'Aaron King for the rest of the 2019 college fantasy football season. So you really need to be strategic. You need to look at those matchups. Maybe look at some of the smaller schools and see who's playing an FCS opponent this week. I don't want to play De'Aaron King right now. We're going to go ahead and save him for later on in the season. You really need to be strategic in your roster build, because when you use a player one time, you cannot use them again over the course of the 2019 season. So you have to plan ahead. And that's why I'm going to go ahead and unlock the roster build coming up in the next week or so you guys can start laying it out on matchups down the line, who you want to play out in week 1, week 2, week 3. Now, speaking from experience, I like to look out at least 2 weeks down the line when I'm building this, because I don't want to take a player this week if I know he has a favorable matchup next week and I don't have many weeks of the season left. So you want to take a look at those matchups. The one warning that I will give you on this Adjust My Roster is that at the end of the week, when the scores are locked in, you're going to want to go ahead and click that drop all button in the red box over on the right-hand side, because as we get late into the season, we will get some Sun Belt, we will get some MAC games going on earlier in the week. And if you do not change those players out, they will be locked in for that coming week, and you will get zeros. And in some instances, you will probably have to email me, because you won't be able to make any drops on your roster at all. You'll be locked out. So don't forget to take out your players. Once the scores become official for that week and they're locked in, remember, on a Monday morning, Monday afternoon, go into drop all. You may not set your lineup for that week, but at least drop all the players so you don't overlook any midweek players that you accidentally left in your roster getting locked in for the week after. So that is a layout of how you're going to build your rosters each and every week throughout the regular season. So with that being said, let's look at how we're going to go ahead and take care of some of the payouts. I mentioned that there was an optional buy-in. This is how we're going to do it. So I'm going to use the Fantrax Treasurer. We're going to use the Fantrax Treasurer for this. And as you can see, the league entry is only $3. That's it. It's not a lot. I ran a poll earlier. It came back about 75–80% of you guys were interested in doing a buy-in. We're going to do a $3 buy-in. A dollar is going to be allocated to each league. Now, as you can see here on the screenshot here, I went ahead and set the league entry fee payment deadline for December 1st. And there's two reasons I'm going to do that. One, I don't want to set it at the beginning of the season because I'm worried that Fantrax will lock any owner out that hasn't paid the league fee, and you are not required to pay the league fee. If you want to play for free, you have the option to do that. You just will not be eligible for any of the prize money at the end of the year. Now, here's the other reason why I put the buy-in date for December 1st, because there's going to be a chance for you to buy back into the tournament. It's only going to be a one-time chance to do that, and I'm going to show you where that's going to happen. It's going to happen when we have the two halves tournament right here. Now, as you can see, guys, right here, sorry it took me so long to get to that. The two halves tournament, the second half tournament, starts in week 7. It's for the top 64 teams that actually bought into play. It's the only advantage you have to buying in is that you get a spot in the second half tournament if you're one of the top 64 paid in teams. Now, I mentioned paying in is not a requirement. So here's how we're going to do it. If I have 64 teams that are paid by this before week 7 begins, the top 64 paid teams will enter the second half tournament. If I have 50 teams that are paid in by the start of week 7, I will take the top 50 teams that have bought in and then take the next 14 teams that were not paid in, and you will be able to play for free, and there is a prize for that. But the goal of this second half tournament is to get the top 64 paid teams. I mentioned that the pay date was later, December 1st, and I mentioned that you can buy back in. And here's where you can do it. If you have not paid in and you have decided to play for free, that is fine. If you're going into the season and you're in week 4 and you're in week 5 and you're thinking that you may have a shot to qualify to be one of the top 64 teams in the second half tournament, then I will give you the option to buy in the full $3 buy-in to enter the second half tournament. So that $3 buy-in will be allocated throughout all the leagues, but you will at least have a chance to win some money in this one particular league if you buy in afterwards. Now, how will I know if you buy in? And that's a really good question. This is how I'm going to do it, guys. I am going to take the standings, and at the end of every owner in the standings, I'm going to add either a $sign or an asterisk, and I'm going to go ahead and edit the team names with some type of symbol that will show to the field who's paid in and who's paid out. So there'll be a real simple way of doing it. If there are any questions, feel free to post anything in the message room, anything in the chat room, on the message board, chat room, or email me through the administrative email that is up on the site. Now, let's get into the payouts. You buy in if you want to buy in. Let's look at how we're going to go ahead and pay out. So I mentioned that $3 is the buy-in, $1 will go to every league, and every league will have 2 winners that will get paid out 60-40. So theoretically speaking, if let's just say there were 100 people that bought in, $3, 300 total, there'd be a 1/3 split, and every tournament would get $100. A 60-40 split, that'd be a $60 winner, a $40 winner in each particular league. But there's a few things that could happen, and I want to lay it out up front. If there's, if there's a first and second in each league, whatever the total pot is, the pot's going to be distributed 1/3 to each league, and then from there, first and second will be split 60-40. But what happens in the case if one of the players that finishes first or second does not actually buy in? Well, as you can see by the examples there, and it's the row there in the middle, and we'll start from the left. If a fantasy owner buys in and they finish first, but the second place finisher did not buy in, well, then that first place finisher wins 100% of the pot allocated to that league. If for some reason the owner that finishes first does not buy in, they will get a t-shirt. They will not get any money, and the owner that finished second will actually get 100% of the pot allocated for that league. And then what happens if first and second in any one league did not buy in? And that's the last line. If you did not buy in and the top two finishers finished first and second, the winner will still get a t-shirt. But the second place finisher did not buy in. You may get a t-shirt, may not. I haven't decided on second place finishers, but the money allocated for that particular league rolls over into the other two leagues, and that money will be distributed 50-50 between those two leagues, paid out at a 60-40 clip. So there it's laid out pretty straightforward, but like I said, if you guys have any questions, put something in the message board, put it in the chat room, throw it up there, and I will go ahead and address anything before the season starts that I have not been able to address yet. So once again, this is Joe DeSalvo. Welcome into the 3-in-1 Super Fantasy League. I hope I laid out all the details for you. If you have any questions, reach out to me. But everyone that entered, good luck. The tournament brackets will be laid out in the coming days. I should have everything live, hopefully by the end of this week, if not by the start of next week. I'll talk to you soon.